looking at the way the job market is, I think we start to realize that you need multiple streams of income just to protect yourself. Not just protecting yourself when things go wrong, but just in general, cost of living. Like, things are expensive out here. So having multiple streams of income allows you to do more with your money.
How can people start thinking about building wealth, no borders?
The way to start thinking about building wealth with no borders is to first travel. When you start going on, I like to call them like wealth building holidays, then your mind will start being opened up to like the opportunities and the possibilities that are out there. So imagine you've got something in Asia, doing something now in Africa, you've got clients in America. That is like building wealth with no borders, literally. You can have a certain skill, for example. If you take that and you go within another border, you can become highly sought after. For example, teachers. A British educated teacher in the Middle East is highly sought after, even if a software engineer in the UK. Software engineers in the UK versus what software engineers make in America. I will be seeing software engineers $500,000. What? As an employee.
A lot of people do have that fear of leaving. A lot of our parents move. Now it's our time to assess, actually, where's the best place in the world?
You're not defined by where you come from.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big message that I always want to tell people. Like
you have to be able to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
When you grow up in ends, you don't realize it when you're confident, but you have an audacity to do things that ordinarily most people wouldn't be willing to do.
Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm your host, Atto. We have a special guest in the building. We have Lámidé, who's a former banker at JP Morgan and Citibank, international real estate consultant, and co-founder of professionElle network, where they aim to connect young professional women through frequent events, masterclasses, and networking events. Lámidé, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling a little bit stationary sick, should I say?
Okay. What's that mean?
Yeah, because I've been in the first couple weeks of the year was like hectic, like Q1, Q2, 6 cities, 3 continents, 4 countries. It was like hectic. I was like up and down. And then March, I was like, I need to sit down because all that up and down, it's really hard to stay on top of like your routine. It's really hard. I was falling behind on work as well because like I just had so much going on. So I was like, I need to stay stationary. And I was basically recovering. And then now I'm like, so I've been in the UK for too long basically. So I need to go. That's basically, so I feel sick from being too stationary. So I'm excited to get back to Dubai. Basically.
Why are you sick of being in the UK? What's happening?
To be fair, weather is getting better and everything, but I just feel like my vibe, it just isn't here. Yeah, my vibe just isn't here. Like when I get to Dubai, I just feel like,
this is the place.
This is where I'm supposed to be. Yeah. These are where my people are. This is where I feel inspired.
Yeah.
This is where like fun work is. So yeah.
You know what? I agree with you. Every time I go to Dubai, I don't know what it is, but there's something about it that makes you feel like you can do a lot here, or it just makes you believe in more in some kind of way. Yeah. Like you just feel energized, you just feel happy being there. I don't know what it is.
There's just like an air of like excellence that is just like, you're just like, yeah, things are nice. Like, yeah, like, oh God, you don't realize how much like dog poo is on the floor. Because seriously, because I walk a lot now, like my gym from my house is like a 20-minute walk. So and I was like, damn, I'm so used to like clean streets. Like you can't litter. You're not. Yeah, you put your dog poos, you pick it up. Cleaners are on job 24/7 in Dubai. So like things are just, and then in London, I'm just like poo. It's a lot. Yeah.
Oh God. You know what? I'm used to living in London, so I guess for me, I'm used to that. For the fact that you said that, it's just hilarious. I think for me, like, I guess living in the UK, I don't realize that, but I like cleanliness. That's like a very important thing for me. And I think definitely in Dubai that you kind of like learn a lot of that stuff. So, I mentioned a bit about you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I guess currently I am an international real estate consultant. So basically I help investors around the world get invested into the Dubai property market. So get them on the ladder from an investor's perspective as well. So what areas to invest in, what kind of property you should be investing in to get the best out of what the Dubai market has to offer, what developers you want to be going with, all of that stuff. So I've been doing that for a couple of months, and that has been really, really fun. That's probably one of the funnest things that I do, because you really get to tap into, I guess, different people's minds and see how different people think about investing. Like some of my clients are first time investors, but then the majority of them are seasoned investors who'd probably got like investments around the world. So I really enjoy just talking to them. I feel like when I talk to them, I'm like, I'm really enjoying this conversation. So I really enjoy doing that. And then obviously on the other side of that, I also partner with developers in Dubai, brokerages in Dubai. So it's a really fun experience. And then I'm also the host of the Building Wealth with No Borders podcast. So I guess I'm a content creator. I have my own channel, Lámidé Elizabeth. And that's fun as well. I really enjoy it. I'm sure you know what that's like when you're speaking to people.
Very fun.
You know, different people doing amazing things. So I really enjoy doing that. And then I'm also the co-founder of the professionElle network. And so that is a women's network that we have out in Dubai that mainly connects young professional women. We have a couple other things that we wanted to do, but it's been a bit of a journey with that. But the primary stuff of what we do right now is connecting young professional women in Dubai, because a lot of people come over either by themselves or with a partner, and people are really lonely. Even though Dubai is a city for connecting, you will find a lot of people who are very lonely out there. So
That's, you know what, the lonely thing is so real, because like you're having to like reestablish like, you know, new friendships. You might not be with your family out there, so that's a real thing. What made you like, I was wondering, what made you go into like real estate? What was that about? Like,
so I think to be fair, it was probably one of the most natural things that I could do, because a lot of my following was built off of when I shared the journey after getting my first property investment in the UK. So I had a huge part of my following were interested in investments anyways. And then whilst I was out there, I guess people kind of just like were asking about it. I had a lot of the developers, brokerages, like so many people all the time reaching out to me like, you know, you could provide this thing for your audience, you could provide this thing. But even since when I first moved to Dubai, I was still working in corporate, right? So whilst they were reaching out to me then, I was like, I enjoyed going out to see what the different investment options were, but I wasn't necessarily trying to necessarily get people to invest myself. But I think after a while, learning a bit more about Dubai, being a bit more convinced about the market, it was kind of like a natural thing to do, or something that I was just doing like, let me just, whatever, if you want to get invested, let me help you. But then after I was actually like, this is actually fun. I enjoy it. There's good money in it. So why not?
Yeah, that's interesting. It's nice to like pivot and be able to feel like you can kind of do that. Weren't you like scared or worried about like, you know, taking a leap? Because obviously when you're in like a career, right, 9 to 5, you got that safety is what you kind of know. And even though like, you know, doing this is going to open doors for you, it's like there's a bit of fear sometimes in that. You know?
Okay, so I didn't take the leap to become an international real estate consultant. When I left my job, I had my investments, I had the content side of things, I had my business in Dubai. We were doing a bit more then. That's what I left with. But I think because I was in a position where I was financially independent, so all of my bills were covered and I was still making extra. I was so when I left, I moved to Johannesburg, and I had an investment there that was fully paid off. So it was just kind of like there was no what was the worst that could happen.
Fair, okay.
My worst case scenario was being in a luxury apartment, nice weather, and some extra money. Like, what's my worst case? You know? And then if things got really bad for some reason, I had to, I don't know, move back to London, I'll go back home. Or I'll just go get another job. Like, even when I got my job in Dubai, even though this was definitely like an anomaly, I got it in a week. And like, that is something that, you know, and I know people really, really struggle to get jobs in Dubai, and especially now, like, the appeal has increased, right? But I was like, worst case scenario, just get another job.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. And you see, this is the thing. You were from a position of stability. So for you, you're like, okay, cool, I can take the risk. I've got like my essentials covered. I don't need to like really worry about it, which is so interesting. And I think like in this conversation, hopefully we can kind of help people get to that kind of place, right? So, you know, investment banking, what happened there? What motivated you to like pursue a career there?
Money.
I don't think I've had anybody in the podcast just say it out like that.
Because it's true. Why else would you go? Who loves, love murders? And I could just stop lying. No, you don't. So I guess going through school, well, first of all, I went to a uni where the majority of people probably either go into investment banking or consider investment banking. So I went to London School of Economics. Most people call that like the pipeline for investment bankers, because everyone's kind of studying some sort of economics related degree. Your best paying job coming off the back of that was in finance, so it was in investment banking. So that wasn't kind of, it wasn't unconventional for me to do that given the uni that I went to. Even if you go to LSE and you had no clue what investment banking is, by the time 1 week into it, you will be like, oh, I'm applying for investment banking internship. Even if you were studying a law degree, sociology degree, like it's just, that was kind of the pipeline of it. When I started though, I studied economic history and I was kind of like open to law or banking. But then I did this work experience at Clifford Chance, and I went and I just saw the way the lawyers were working. It was this weird setup where, I don't know if this is still like this in law now, where it's like you're in a cubicle room and there's like the senior lawyer or the qualified lawyer, I don't know, at a big desk, and then let's say like they're here, then there's like a smaller desk over here, and then it's like that's like the, I don't know, the analyst or whatever just went. And I was like, oh no, this does not look fun. There was hella printed paper everywhere. I was like, yeah, it's not law. So I was like, well then my other option in my mind, my only other option was banking. So I was like, okay, banking it is then.
Fair. So that's how you kind of did it, and that's what. So by studying that's when you then decided, okay, I'm gonna go into investment banking. How do you kind of establish yourself? Because a lot of people want to get into investment banking and it's competitive. How were you able to do it?
Okay, so my advice is, the thing is, if you want to go into investment banking, really and truly, the easiest way to do it is to start like A-levels. Honestly, to start from A-levels.
Okay.
Do good subjects, do maths and maybe some of the other more rigorous subjects, whatever that is. Maybe maths, economics, geography, history, whatever. Because one, uni is a big thing, like in banking. Like they are very elitist, and I don't think that's changed, because I know people who have still gone into like high hedge funds, high paying finance jobs, and they're still very elitist. No matter how much we say university doesn't matter, when it comes to some of these institutions, even when they try to be more open, the majority of people that they will select comes from a very select university. Like I remember on my team at JP Morgan, 25% of the people on that team went to LSE. So like of all the many universities that there are in the world, right? Because also at an international bank, American International Bank, you have the French people, you have the Spanish people, you have the Italians. 25% of them went to LSE. So if you can get into a good university, you're going to give yourself a massive leg up. Even if you get into a good university and you don't even study a degree that's like, even if you did music at Oxford, for example, you probably stand a higher chance in some roles than if you went to a lesser university and studied, I don't know, maybe engineering or something, right? So I would say the best thing that you can do for yourself if you want to start really early is just get into a good university, ideally study a good subject, and then you want to start to try to get in as early as possible. So your first pathway in is spring week. So that's in your first year of university. So a lot of people start thinking about grad jobs in their third year. Like, oh, I'm about to graduate now. Let me start thinking about no. At that point, the competition is way too tough. If you start at spring weeks, most people are not going into freshers week thinking about what job am I going to get at the end of university. But when you go to certain universities like LSE, people are coming in already having made their applications to their spring weeks. And that's the easiest way to get in. And then when you do these spring weeks, you can just get pipelined. From spring weeks, if you do well, you get referred to a summer internship. From a summer internship, if you do well, you get your grad job. That's the easiest way to get in. If, let's say, for example, maybe you went to like maybe a more mid-tier university or whatever, I'd say like strategize. Sometimes it's not always necessarily the best to go for the most competitive divisions because the investment bank is big and there are so many different roles within it. So if you go for like IBD, they select the best of the best for that. So maybe you can go into compliance, you can go into operations, you can go into technology, right? And then obviously also as well, I think it's even more important. A lot of the stuff I'm saying is very elitist, but it is what it is. It's even more important if you didn't go to as strong of a university to try and get a first class so that you're the best in whatever you went to. Because when you go to one of the top universities, you can get away with a 2-1. Whereas I think if you don't, one of the best to increase your chances, right? Because it's competitive. Like it is really competitive. So you have to put yourself in the best foot forward you can. Do it. So then try get a first class and just make hella applications. Like I know some people, I'll talk to some people and they'll be like, oh, I only made 5 applications. Like, no, like you need to be making 10 applications, 20 applications. Try to get as much experience and give yourself the most chance that you can possibly get. And also networking, all of that stuff. I haven't spoken about this stuff in ages, but there's a whole technique to getting into banking. It's not just like off the back. Like it's hard.
I know, that's why I asked you like, how you did it, because I know investment banking is tough, especially you went to a great one. JP Morgan is gonna be like, it's very well known. Like, we're talking about $1 billion like company, which is mad. So okay, so you got into investment banking, right? You worked there for a bit. What's kind of like the key lessons that you kind of learned and insights that you kind of got, especially about like money and wealth, like working?
The first thing I would say is when it comes, I think one of the biggest lessons on wealth that I took away was that people with access and big corporations and wealthy people, they don't pay taxes like you think they do. So one of the things that I would have to analyze is it's not necessarily, what is it called? It's not the org chart where I've left, all the terminology has now left my head. So it's not the org chart where it's like, okay, this is the CEO or whatever, but it's the one that has like, it's like the operating parent companies and the subsidiaries. So we'd have to look at that because I was in credit, we do a lot of lending. And so you have to know at which subsidiary or which parent or which structure within the company structure you were lending to. I don't know if that kind of makes sense. But if you're in finance, you kind of know what I'm talking about, right? Because you lend to a particular let's just say vehicle. All the terminology has left my head. So I'd have to analyze that chart. And when I would do that, you start to realize like, oh, they have this random subsidiary in like the Cayman Islands, or they have this random subsidiary in like the Bermuda, or all of these little like British overseas territories. And you're thinking, I know that there's no revenue coming from here. I know that there's no business here. So why do they have all of these offshoots in all of these places? And then you start realizing like, this is just tax optimization. Like these people know what to do to minimize their tax bill, and they're doing it all legally, right? They're producing these documents for us to go through. This is all legal, but like these people are able to avoid taxes the way that a normal PAYE worker cannot, right? And I think that was just sort of starting to kind of really open up my mind to how wealth is, I guess, maybe what's the word? Like not created, but the way it's kept at certain levels, right? Because especially when you go into investment banking, and even me going into it, I was thinking like, yes, I am making the money. Like you enter in and not like long after, some people maybe within your first year, you're already in like the top 10%, top 5%, some people in the top 1%, right? So you think that, oh yeah, I'm doing something. But then you actually start to see the levels of wealth that people have and the tools that they have in their power to be able to preserve that wealth and keep more of their money that the average person doesn't have. And I think that really just opened up my mind to the difference between like a high income and being rich, and then like wealth, and the ways that people who are wealthy are able to protect their wealth and keep more of their wealth that the ordinary person can't.
That's so interesting. That is so interesting, especially like the whole credit where you're saying that a company's not revenue generated, but then they're kind of using that to like save on tax, which is crazy, right? And I think you can kind of see that a lot of this kind of stuff playing out now, like with people moving to Dubai, right? People are trying to figure out actually how can I keep more of my money, because that's important, right? If you can, in a way, right, if you're not having to pay a 40% and you're saving on 40%, it's hard to really beat that, isn't it? Like, what can you kind of do, right, around that? That's an interesting insight. So I like that. Here's a hard truth. Being a business owner means constantly fighting against the unpredictable. You can send invoices on time, manage your budget like a pro, and still face cash flow problems when a client drags their feet or an unexpected expense hits. But here's the thing. Smart business owners don't just react to problems, they plan for them. That's why I use Tide's instant saver account. While you're chasing down that late payment, the rest of your business funds don't have to sit idle. With up to 4.22% AER Variable, no withdrawal fees, instant access, and FSCS protection up to £85,000, every pound keeps working, and you can open an account with just £1. Right now, Tide is offering a £100 bonus to new members from my community who open and fund a Tide instant saver with £5,000 in the first 30 days. Just use the code SAVVYWALLET. Plus, for the first 6 months, you can earn up to 4.22% AER Variable on your business savings. Opening an account takes just 3 steps. Tap the link in the episode description, enter the code SAVVYWALLET, and start making your money work harder for you. New Time members receive up to 4.22% AER Variable. Interest rates are tiered with the top rate for balances over £1 million. New Time members get these rates free for 6 months. After that, your Tide plans rates apply. For the full offer Ts&Cs, visit tide.co/savings. Rate correct as of the 8th of May, 2025. Okay, so, I think we kind of alluded to it a bit before, right? Why do you think having multiple sources of income is more important than ever, especially in today's economy?
Because one, the analogy that I like for when it comes to multiple sources of income is like you as an entity, right? You're kind of like a table, and the more legs you have on that table, the more stable the table is. So if you have a table, let's say like a round table, and it has one leg, if you cut that leg off, it's done. The table is done. If the table has 3 legs and you cut one leg, that table still might be able to stand. And so that's how I see multiple streams of income. You're kind of protecting yourself against the possibility that if one of these income streams dry up for one reason or another, I've still got other ways to be earning income. I've still got other ways to support myself. And especially in the way that the economy is going, where one week they'll introduce, an increase in corporation tax. Then the company says, well, we're slashing jobs, and then boom, a hella redundancies. Or they'll say, oh, AI is coming. I don't know, hiring. Just looking at the way the job market is, I think we start to realize that you need multiple streams of income just to protect yourself. And not just protecting yourself when things go wrong, but just in general, cost of living. Like, things are expensive out here. So having multiple streams of income allows you to do more with your money. Because sometimes you just start, like, let's say a lot of people, I remember like I had one dilemma on my podcast. Someone was like, I have a 30K salary and I'm not saving anything. It's like, well, if you start another stream of income, if you have that 30K, you know that, okay, this is just enough to cover my lifestyle. If you start another stream of income, you can then delegate that income stream straight into investing. Everything I make from this goes straight into my ISA or goes straight into me trying to save for a property, because it's hard and the cost of living is rising. Salaries are not rising. So sometimes the way to get that salary increase is to have another income stream.
I agree. And, I do get comments on the pod, in the comments on YouTube sometimes, like, oh, we don't want to do hustle culture. Honestly, I understand it and I appreciate it, but I just think, like you say, the way the world is right now, there's almost not going to be that room to breathe unless you're on a high salary. If you have a high salary, that's going to be your kind of mitigator, right? Like, you're on high salary, so therefore you can kind of mitigate those kind of circumstances. But if you're struggling, unfortunately, right, you might have to look to something else, right? One of the things that we wanted to talk about today, right, was, building wealth across borders, right? And I know that's something that you're quite passionate about. How can people start thinking about that a bit more, about building wealth across borders?
I think the way to start thinking about building wealth with no borders is to first travel, because if you're not traveling, you're not going to be able to see what's out there, the opportunities that are out there, what people are doing. If you can't travel, then your best bet is to open yourself up geographically via the internet, because that's what I was doing. The majority of the people that I used to watch on YouTube, and I still watch, they weren't based in the UK. They were based in the US, they were based in Bali, they were based in wherever they were all over the world. And so that was one way for me to open up myself to the world. But then also just traveling as well really, really opens up your mind. And when you start traveling, you will start to see opportunities, especially like I always say there's like difference between just going on holiday and you're at a beach and you're just sipping pina coladas. There's not much that you're going to see there. In fact, when you go on holidays like that, you end up surrounded by the people that you probably see back home.
Yeah,
I've been to some holiday resorts and it's just British people. Like, it's like, I'm not getting away from, you know, what I'm used to. But when you start going on, I like to call them like wealth building holidays, right? Where you go out, you're actually talking to local people. Maybe you might take, you might go with an agent, just go see some of the properties that are out there. Maybe you might meet up with someone an expat who's there, ask them what life is about. Then your mind will start being opened up to like the opportunities and the possibilities that are out there. And then you can start thinking about, okay, how can I start adding this to my own wealth journey?
Yeah. I've never heard of a wealth building holiday. I've got to try that out. Wow. That's quite cool. I mean, all my holidays are just like leisure, right? Like honestly, but I like the wealth building one. That's a good one. And why do you think it's important for people to start thinking about, you know, building? You said build wealth, no borders, is that?
Building wealth with no borders, yeah.
Why is it important for them to do that?
I think I will speak from my own perspective, for myself. When you start thinking about, sometimes, you can have a certain skill, for example, and within the borders that you are in, maybe because everyone else has that same skill, that skill is not valued, or that characteristic that you have is not valued. But if you take that and you go to another border, right, within another border, you can become highly sought after. So let's take, for example, teachers in the UK. I don't feel like we give enough respect to teachers. It's just like, oh, 100%. Okay, cool, whatever, teach first, whatever. Teachers, in British teachers, educated teachers, and you don't even have to go to the creme de la creme universities. A British educated teacher in the Middle East is highly sought after. They are looking for British teachers, American teachers like nowhere else, right? Because they're using that to kind of build their credibility. So you take that same school in the UK, you might go to a school, you might be sick of it. The kids are throwing pencils at your head, everything. You're not even getting paid enough for it. And then you go to another place and they're like, we need you. Like I know people who started their teaching journey. Maybe they were only 1-2 years into teaching and they go to the Middle East and they become managers, right? So you're the same the same skill set that you have, you're taking it to another place and all of a sudden you're highly sought after, right? And it's not just that, it's also in the sense of like, just one thing that was for me that made the difference was that like, so I used to do this thing where I used to walk around nice places in London to like, even if it's for like a day or like you're going for a stroll with your friends and then you want to be inspired, so you walk down a nice neighborhood. And a lot of the time when I'd go on like Zoopla or Rightmove and start looking at the prices of these properties, a lot of it would feel like, oh, this is out of my reach. Like my dream house, £10 million. How much do I have to be earning to be able to afford a £10 million property? But then you go to another country and you're like, actually, this is the exact same kind of house that is my dream home, but it's only £1 million. It's only £2 million. This is so much more achievable for me. My dream life is not as far away as I think it is. It's just within a different border, right? Yeah. So I think that it just really opens up the different possibilities that are around you. Yeah, that's very interesting. And, you know, I like what you said in terms of, you know, that skill value, because you're absolutely right. If you're not getting paid your worth somewhere else, and you're right, teachers get it all in the Middle East. Like they're getting accommodation, they're getting a good salary. They can bring their kids to private school for free, two kids in private schools for free. Like there's so much that you get. And it's not just like, even if you're like a software engineer in the UK, software engineers in the UK versus what software engineers make in America.
Yeah, it's big difference.
I will be seeing software engineers $500,000, $3 million. I'm like, what? As an employee. The UK could never, you know? Crazy. So, yeah.
I like that. And it's a good thing for people to think. I think a lot of people do have that fear of leaving because, you know, it's just a fear, right? But if you think about a lot of people that are in the UK, a lot of our parents moved. I know my parents moved. My parents were not born here. They were born in Africa. And then they moved here because they thought the life was better here. That doesn't mean just because they thought the life was better here that we must stay. Now it's our time to assess, actually, where's the best place in the world to kind of do that.
Exactly. That is literally something that I always say. Like, they made the move so that we can have certain benefits and advantages. And now that we have those, you have your British citizenship, you have your British education, you have your British passport. If you want to make the same sort of leap that they made, and the increase in the standard of living and the increase in the opportunities available that they gave to you versus what they have, you might have to move.
Yeah. I think it's important. So, okay, let's talk about practical steps, right? What practical steps can people kind of take today, especially beginners, to start like thinking about, building, multiple streams of income, especially like if they're trying to look to build wealth, with no borders?
Okay, so it's so hard to say specifically because it really depends. You can build an income stream through having a global property portfolio, for example. You can build an income stream through having a global business. You can build an income stream through moving countries, right? So it's really hard to say one specific thing, which is why I'm kind of saying like travel first, because when you travel, it will open, like, I know people who they just own a rooftop bar in Kenya, for example. Like I'm not going to come up with that. Like, you don't know unless you go, you travel, you meet people and you're like, this is a business opportunity. Even another one of my friends, she's Canadian. She just opened up, also in Kenya as well. She just opened up a Afro-Caribbean restaurant. Wow. Only through her traveling, realizing that actually this is missing from this place. And there's a lot of different African and Caribbean people in this vicinity. This is missing. Let me open up a Caribbean restaurant, right? So it's so hard for me to say like, okay, this is what you need to do. But if you start traveling and get out of the resorts and actually start going around, and also even just especially if you maybe you have remote working capabilities, rather than just spending like 2-3 days, maybe spending like 2 weeks and just trying to work from there and stuff. That's when you start to see the gaps in the market that you can use to fill whatever gaps that you have, or however you want to build your income streams. I can obviously say, yes, property is a really good way to do it, but that might not be everyone's cup of tea. And it's also quite risky as well to start putting, especially because property usually requires quite a large deposit. So if you're unsure about a country, it can be quite difficult to then invest so much into it. So my number one tip, honestly, is actually to travel, because it will open up your mind. I think
that's a good idea. I actually wanted to ask you about your friend. So your friend that did the bar in Kenya, you said, no, the restaurant in Kenya, right? Does she live there, or is she just still living in Canada and she just decided to operate it?
Okay, so it's two. So the guy is one who opened up the I think he's partnered with someone who is also based in Kenya, and they opened up this rooftop bar. I don't know too much about it. My friend who has the restaurant in Kenya that just opened up, they have an apartment in Kenya.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. The fact that like I have so many ideas, because the remote thing, right? A lot of people do get to work from home, and I don't know if people check this, but like for instance, for me, I know I'm allowed to work outside of the UK if I want to. Obviously, I have to put requests in. Yeah. I think it's something like 30 days a year I get. And a lot of people get these perks.
And people just don't check. You probably have them. Your manager might not even know. You might be the one that needs to bring the work contract and say, listen, look, I have this, so can I use it?
I mean, that is actually a very, very interesting idea. So you think it's best to travel, figure out what kind of works for you, whether you want to like work in that country, whether you kind of want to start a business, or whether you want to kind of get into property, which I think is makes quite like good sense. And in terms of like, even just moving, right? Because that's another thing that's quite tough, right? What should people think about, and what should they kind of consider?
I think it's always a case of, what are you looking to get out of where you go when it comes to relocation? So for me, I've kind of had like these three bases of like Dubai, the UK, and South Africa. And they are very different to each other. Like I literally have this Excel spreadsheet that kind of ranks these different factors. And they're all very different. So if you think about taxes, I literally have this like, it's like a traffic light spreadsheet, right? So if you think about taxes, UK is red, South Africa is yellow, UAE is green. If you think about weather, Dubai is probably yellow, UK is like red, South Africa is like green, right? So I have all of these different factors based off of what is important to me, but then I kind of choose based on what season of my life am I in and what do I need? So you need to think about wherever you're moving to, if it's for the long term, it's for the short term, what are you trying to get out of that place? I can't move somewhere, for example, I know people do like China and like even like the Balis and the Thailands and stuff. I couldn't personally move there because I wouldn't want to live in a country where I feel like it's hard for me to get basic necessities that I might need as a black woman. If it's hard to get plantain, I'm not even trying to go. Actually, I take that back because it's really hard to get plantain in South Africa, actually.
Is it?
From the supermarket. Yeah, they don't really eat plantain like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a West African thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair.
So it's actually really hard to get plantain.
Okay.
But like, at least like when it comes to like my nails, my lashes, my hair, most importantly, I'm not going to go to somewhere where I have to struggle to find someone to do my hair. Like I have my friend who lived in Bali, she'd fly to another neighboring country because there was like one black woman that she knew there that could do her hair. I'm not going to get a flight to go get my hair done. Personally, that's just not something that I'm willing to do. There are ways around it. You know, people bring their wigs in their bag or you learn how to do your own hair. But like for me, I have to move to a country where I feel comfortable to be me, and I also have to see people who look like me. That's important for me. Other people, that might not be important. Maybe your career is the factor that's leading you to where you want to go. So let's say you're working in finance. Maybe when you're choosing somewhere to move to, you're thinking, you know, maybe New York, Singapore, Switzerland, whatever. So what are the factors that are important to you for where you want to go? Let that lead, and then think about all the other stuff as well. Even just like, are you someone who's really attached to your family? Because distance from home can really matter. Yeah. Right? Like South Africa is like 11 hours flight from the UK. That's far. Right? So if you're someone who's like, you know that you're going to want to go home. There's this guy when I was working in Dubai, his family's in Egypt. This guy would go home like he was obsessed with his family. He'd go home like every other weekend. He was back at home, but it was a 4 hours flight. Okay, so he could do that. He could, whether it's a good use of money, I don't think so. But, you know, if that's really something that was important to him, then he would fly back, you know, every other weekend. But you could do that because you were 4 hours away. So think about the factors that are important to you. What's your lead factor? What are you trying to get out of the place that you're wanting to go to? And then you can make your decision through that.
Yeah, very important. I really like the traffic light. That is so cool. And I understand why you said Dubai is yellow, because I heard in the summer it gets mad hot. It's bad.
Yeah,
you do not want to be going out.
It's hot.
So I wanted to ask you, right, this question about inspiring success, because obviously you've gone to Dubai several times. I mean, you're operating out there, you're operating out of South Africa. You interview loads of people as well in the UK and there. So for yourself, right, I know this is rhetorical, but in terms of, have you seen any inspiring success stories of people who've built wealth globally? I know that's going to be a yes. Can you talk a little bit about that, what you've kind of seen from your perspective?
As in like a particular person, or just in general?
Just generally, yeah. If you want any kind of examples of people who have done that successfully and kind of inspires you.
Okay, I'll shout out my friend Chidi. She was definitely one of the people who even inspired me to consider investing abroad. So that's Chidi Ashley. If people want to look her up on YouTube. She has a crazy villa in Bali. It's called Villa Olori. It's sick. Like, she built it from scratch. Like, I think she leased the land and then built her villa from scratch. And that was incredible. And I know now she's launching like a mini hotel in Marrakesh. Oh, wow. She is Nigerian, obviously, but then has like, I don't know, she's lived in multiple places, but then she went to school in New York. She also has a travel business where most of her clients come from America, like American nurses. I think she was saying is like one of her most her frequent customers. And then they also have a tech company as well. So imagine you've got something in Asia, doing something now in Africa. You've got clients in America. You've lived in multiple places. She's living in Dubai now as well. Like, that is like building wealth with no borders, literally. So yeah, she's someone that definitely inspires me to just think bigger, for sure. That's
so interesting. Wow. Like, and it's all like in different areas as well, right? Like, it's just like very multifaceted, right? Like, I mean, a mansion in Bali I like Bali. Bali is a nice place. I mean, I've been to Bali and I wouldn't even think of that. That's crazy to
But
think.
she lived there first. This is why I'm saying that travel is important, because she lived there first, and it was probably something that she wanted that she didn't see. And then she was like, okay, let me do it myself.
Okay.
I'm assuming that was the case.
I mean, it makes sense, right? Because she's not just going to choose a random spot. But the fact that she lived there for a while. Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. So what about the challenges of doing this, right? Because obviously it's also tough, and I want to kind of give people the realities of doing this. What would you say is the kind of challenges of building wealth with like no borders?
Oh God, there are a lot of challenges. I think one challenge that I guess you'd have to think about with the whole globalization trend is, I guess, what that impact is for local people. So I know that's a big thing with, like, I know a lot of people want to move to Cape Town, but a lot of locals who are in Cape Town, some anyways, will be like, can you guys stop coming? Like, you're raising the prices of everything. Like, there's like I don't know if I would call it like an ethical, but there's also an impact on people that you might want to consider. So there's that. Even, I'm sure with the case, even with Bali, I'm sure that there are some Indonesian people who are like, you know, I walk around, I don't even see my people anymore, right? Whereas others are probably like, profiting from the fact that there are so many tourists coming to their country. So there's an ethical consideration or environmental consideration that you have to think about. There's also currency risk. Currency is a big thing. Like, don't just go put in your money anywhere. Because, and also that is why you have to think more strategically about, like, for example, I remember I watched a video recently of someone who went to start a business in Nigeria, a restaurant business, but then was trying to fund her lifestyle in the UK. Trying to fund a GBP lifestyle on Naira is very difficult. And especially at a time where the Naira was literally plummeting. And then the cost of living in the UK is going up. And I remember she was saying, like, she lost everything. And I think she mentioned in the video that she put, maybe it was around £50,000 plus that she took to go start that business. And the business was actually doing well. But the currency was dropping. So currency risk. So then she ended up shutting it all down. So there's currency risk as well. And even just like risk of, like, depending on if you're investing in an emerging market as well, you got to think about what are the macroeconomic dynamics of that country, right? That's something that you definitely have to take into consideration. There's a lot. Yeah,
there's a lot. The currency ones is a very important one, and I think people need to be mindful of that, because there's going to be people listening to this excited. Oh, we want to get property, we want to do property. But you're absolutely right. If it's about doing property, but you want to, it depends where you're trying to fund, where the lifestyle that you're trying to fund, right? But yeah, I know with Nigeria, of course, like, I know that the Naira is, like, the devaluation has been crazy. It's been mad. And like you said, if you are trying to kind of do that, and I don't know, try and live the rich lifestyle in the UK, it wouldn't have been good for you to really do that, right? So, yeah, I think it's very interesting for people to kind of understand.
On that point as well, you also, the way you can kind of combat this currency issue is you have to think about, in the country that you are going to, who is your clientele? Like, who are your customers? Because if, for example, let's say you started a restaurant business, right, and Naira is not doing well, whatever, your plummet is going down. If you are, for restaurant business as well, there's so many other factors that you have to think about, because discretionary spending, when times are hard, discretionary spending gets cut first. So people are not going to restaurants and stuff like that. However, if you're targeting international clients, international customers, there's probably a way that you can mitigate that risk a lot more. So, for example, for this person, the restaurant customers were like local people who were, like, let's say, living in that particular area in Nigeria. Whereas if your business was in Banana Island or Lagos Island, Victoria Island, and you know that the people who you are serving are wealthy, or the people who you are serving, a lot of them are getting their income sources from outside of the country, for example, or you're serving people like during Dirty December where they're bringing in their pounds and their dollars and they're not necessarily facing the same issue that is happening within the country, that's very different, right? So you have to think about who you're serving, because even like with my Airbnb in Johannesburg, the clientele that I have, or the clientele of people who stay in that place, it's international people. They're booking when they're coming on their stay. So they are some of those people are even paying in dollars, paying in pounds, right? So you can mitigate that risk. So that's also something that you have to think about as well. Like, who are you trying to serve? Because if you're serving the local people, then local dynamics matter even more. If you're serving tourists, you might be able to mitigate some of that.
That's very, very, very interesting. Thank you for like saying that, because I think that's very, very important. The fact that you say that even some of the, like, if you've got international clients, if they're bringing in pounds, bringing currencies that are stronger, that's how you kind of mitigate it, which is I think is quite an important point, because at the end of the day, we're all traveling, right? So if you're targeting tourists, or if your business targets tourists, like you say, it's like almost getting like the same kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
In a way, I like that. That's so interesting. So, okay, so I wanted to talk about moving abroad, right? In what way has, for you personally, living abroad influenced your career and ability to, you know, build your wealth?
Oh my God. I think if anything, how is it influenced? One, I think it's allowed me to think a lot bigger. And I finally feel like my upside is more unlimited than I would have probably believed if I just stayed in the UK, because I've seen people like me do incredible things. So in general, I feel more optimistic about the things that I'm doing. Probably also just, and I feel like one thing that I just can't cross my mind right now, I don't feel as in a rush as I previously felt. Just because, I don't know, I think there's something about Dubai that keeps people young, in terms of, even when you see people in their 35, 40, they're still living a life that you're like, oh, I actually like that life. Like, you're doing stuff that, like, I'd be very happy to be you. I don't know if that kind of makes sense. So it's like, oh, even someone who is like, let's say 40, I don't know. I think because my mindset before, I kind of would see maybe people who were like, let's say 10 years older, 15 years older, and just think, oh God, your life just looks, it doesn't look fun. Like, and let me get more practical with this, right? Let's say for example, having nannies is a big thing in Dubai. Like, most people, you know, your regular corporate workers will have nannies, will have cleaners. So even just the act of having kids, for example, in Dubai, it's not as like, people who have kids in the UK, like, if they act like their lives are over, like, I can't do nothing, they're miserable. People who have kids in Dubai, they're moving around like anything else. Even if they do bring their kids with them, the nanny is also there as well. So they don't feel like, they're just living life normally, even though they're like significantly older. But I guess maybe I'm not, let me not say burden, because people are like, kids are not a burden, but like, I guess maybe the liability feels lighter because you can have so much more support. So then I'll see people who are, you know, mid 30s, 40s, even their 50s, and it's like, your lifestyle's actually, it looks lit, like, it looks fun. It makes me not feel like, oh my God, I have to have all of this money now whilst I'm young, because in a couple years time, when I have kids or when I'm married, life is going to be boring. I'm just going to have to go to work every day and then come home and then, I don't know, serve the kids dinner and then do homework and then go to bed. So it's kind of stretched out my timeline for wealth building and enjoying, which is nice. But then also, I think, just made me think bigger. And I like, you know what? That's so interesting. So it's like, you're saying that, although yes, it's opened your mind, but in terms of people that are older than you, the way that they were kind of living life, wow, actually, they're living a fun life. They're feeling a fulfilling life. It's not like they get into a certain age. And you're right, certain milestones, people do have this negativity sometimes. And, you know, if I, you know, like you say, I don't want to, a lot of people do say, I don't want to be wealthy when I'm older, as if it's like the end of your life and you can't have a bad life. I need to have everything, you know, young. And maybe you're right. Maybe it's because of how it is where they're living, right? They're just not, they don't see it actually being a better life at an older age, which is very, 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 very interesting. That's a good way to summarize it, because that's literally it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Whether you're launching a business, scaling up, or looking for new career opportunities, the Birmingham Black Business Show is back on Saturday the 14th of June. It's one of the biggest events in the UK for Black entrepreneurs, professionals and creatives. Expect game-changing insights, powerful panels and free one-to-one business and career advice from the best Black entrepreneurs and professionals in the UK. With over 70 speakers, 100 plus Black-owned brands and 4,000 plus attendees, this is where practical strategy meets real inspiration, all in one space. You'll hear from keynote speakers like Dame Denise Lewis, Olympic gold medalist and broadcaster, and Timothy Armu, the marketing powerhouse behind Fanbytes, both bringing world-class insight, powerful stories, and real expertise you can learn from. You'll also find tailored experiences for every stage of your journey, from startup to scale up, early career to leadership. Dive into expert-led seminars, workshops, one-to-one advice, powerful networking, and the biggest Black-owned shopping experience outside of London. And because I know how valuable this opportunity is for my community, I've teamed up with the Birmingham Black Business Show to give away 60 free tickets. Use my code SAVVYFREE at checkout to claim yours, but hurry, they're going fast. In Dubai, right? Like, so a lot of people want to move. What, I know you decided to leave the kind of UK, right? What are your current thoughts about the UK? Are you know, I know you said that you're stationary sick, but that, we could say that's about traveling. Yeah. What are your thoughts? Do you see a future here? Do you kind of see yourself being able to come back here and like, yeah, I can do things, big things here?
I feel like, so, okay. One of the reasons why a lot of people move back to Dubai move back to the UK when they go to Dubai is one, like a family. Like some people start missing their family, or like they want their kids to be raised around their family and stuff. So that might be an impact that I don't know what that is gonna feel like for me when I get there. So maybe. Yeah. But my current thoughts on the UK, I feel like for my obviously I'm now moving towards my late 20s. Okay. And I'm obviously going to have to start thinking about kids soon and stuff like that. And the way I've seen a lot of my friends are in their, like maybe around 30 or so, and they're having kids now, and just seeing that the way that they are able to have kids in the early stage, especially like let's say like 1 till 5, and how much easier it is for them to raise kids in Dubai because they have so much support. I definitely know that in the medium term I definitely want to be in Dubai, so especially at the point where like I'm raising maybe toddlers or whatever, I think I'd want to be in Dubai. But in the long term, when I think about and obviously this is the sort of stuff that, you know, I discuss with my boyfriend or whatever. But when you think about like kids schooling and like secondary school and stuff like that, I feel like those would be the reasons that would bring me back to the UK. Okay. But I don't, even though I'm like so pro leaving the UK, I don't hate the UK. I don't hate London. I'm not like, oh my God, this is the worst place ever. And maybe I have that relationship with it now because I'm not in it. Yeah. So it's like, it's easy for me to see the good sides of it because I don't have to deal with it all the time. But I don't hate it. My thoughts on it are generally like, it was a really good place to grow up. Yeah. I mean, the UK has definitely got a lot going for it. But I think it's like we've been saying before, I think it's good to try and explore, maybe find yourself and find where you're valued if you're not feeling like you're kind of valued. And on that note, right, there's going to be people listening to this that are hesitant about moving. What would be like your message to them? There's people that are hesitating like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. I was going to say something, but I'm not going to say it. That would be mean. I was going to say grow up, like just...
You said it.
Hesitant about moving, like just go, man. Like just for me in my because the thing is, I am very liability light. It's easy for me to get up and go. So I don't know, I could be watching this and there could be a mum of 4 kids. So I can't just be like, just go, right? Because I don't know what that is going to feel like to have to think about 4 kids and then uprooting your life and then moving them to... So, but if you're in a situation like me where you're liability light, like what do you really have to lose? Worst case scenario, you will come back to the UK and carry on as usual. There's nothing that I'm going to say that's going to like change things massively or even change what your experience is going to be. Like think about, I'm thinking about, okay, when I look back on my life, what decision am I going to wish that I would have made. So how I actually got my job in Dubai, I wasn't actually planning to move to Dubai, by the way. It's like, it wasn't like something that I was intentional about. I actually applied because I wanted to see what the salary was.
Yeah.
Then when I got the option presented in front of me, I was like, oh my God, like, should I go? And I thought to myself, what story, when I look back on my life, maybe in 10 years, 20 years, at the end of my life, what story would have panned out better? What decision am I going to regret the least? The decision that I would have regretted the least would be the one to go to Dubai, because it's like, what do you have to lose? If you don't go now, in what position would it be the best for you to go? There's nothing holding you down to the UK, so go. And I knew that in time to come, if I was to look back on the decision and I stayed, there'd always be that like, what if?
Yeah.
What would life have been like if I made that decision? And I don't want to live with that what if. Like, and so far in my life, I haven't lived it hasn't been that long, but all the things that what if, I've done them. What if, what would life look like if you quit my job? I quit my job so I can see the what if. What would life look like if you went to Dubai? I went. What would life look like if you invested abroad? I did it, right? Because I don't want to look back on my life and think, oh, I wish. No, just do it.
Yeah, I think it's important. I think it's important for people to just, risk is, can be the thing that can make you, like you say, live a life of regret. And, you know, sometimes the risk, I think it's just worth taking the risk. Now, I'm not saying like people go out there and just put your life savings out there and you just do something without, it's a calculated risk. I mean,
100%.
all your risks were calculated, right? You knew that there was a backup option. You know, if Dubai didn't work out, like you said, you can come back to the UK. It's all good, right? You can get another job here, right? So I think at the end of the day, it's about being calculated, and I think that's a very, very kind of important thing for people, especially, right?
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, like, I could just imagine like what people are thinking. Yeah, you're not that special. Like, if you're watching this, because people think like they're oh my God, but you don't know my circumstances. Like, there is someone who is in your circumstances who is doing it. Like, I know, like, even I just gave that example of like 4 kids, right? I know someone with 4 kids who is planning on making that move. Like, there is someone in your circumstance who, and this is not just for moving to Dubai or leaving the country, just in general, people always have excuses for why they can't do this and why they can't do that. There is someone who is in your shoes, someone who's probably even in worse shoes than you are, who has done it. So, like, stop making excuses of, oh, you don't understand. Blah, blah, blah. Just get strategic about how it is you want to go about it, put a plan in place, and then go for it. And, like, there are so many different countries out there. Like, one of them, and you don't have to move forever. Even if it's just 3 months, just take a career break. Get your sabbatical after 5 years and you just experience, like, make a way. Yeah.
So Dubai, talking about Dubai, what makes Dubai so special from your experience now that you've lived there for a bit? What makes it, why do you feel so energetic about Dubai? And then that's one side. And then what would you say are the downsides of Dubai? Because there's downsides of everywhere, right?
100%.
Yeah.
I think what makes Dubai so special, why a lot of people will love it, is because everyone that is there, the majority of people, only 20% of the population are Emiratis. So the wide majority of the population are expats. And so everyone that is in Dubai has a story, because also remember that Dubai hasn't existed the Dubai that we know has probably existed for like 30 years. I think it was like 1992 or 1995 where they had the vision for the Dubai that we see now. So everyone that is there has a story. And also everyone that is there has a reason to be there, because it's not like in the UK where you can live on benefits and no, in Dubai, everyone has a visa, whether that visa is a work visa or it's a visa through property. You have to have a visa that is renewed every 2 years or every 10 years if you have like a golden visa or whatever to be in the country. So the moment you lose your job and like you have nothing going for you, they will kick you back. They will kick you out and they will send you back to wherever you're coming from. So if you're there, like you're a hardworking person or you've got money or you've got some sort of a story, and therefore the people that you meet, it's just unlike other places because like you're not meeting like, I don't know, there's the people that you meet is just so different because everyone's there for a reason. So that's it. And I think also just Dubai in and of itself, the visionary, the rulers, the leaders that created Dubai, like when you think about like that sort of leadership, like look what you guys have been able to do in 30 years. Even that in and of itself is like, it's inspiring. Like you have so much respect for them because it's like, this was literally sand. This is sand. And also like this same oil money that they have used to create Dubai, they've got that oil in Venezuela. They've got that oil in Nigeria. What do they do with the oil money? We don't know. They've spent it on Bobrisky and all sorts of just whatever. And these people have taken their money and look what they have built. They've built this haven that people from all around the world want to be in, right? Yeah. So even that in and of itself is inspiring. And then just like the overall standard of living in Dubai, it's an experience that it's just like, you just don't get that in many places.
Yeah.
And then obviously you said the cons. Okay. What are the cons of living in Dubai? You know what? I think the cons is going to depend on who you are.
Yeah.
So one thing that a lot of people don't speak about is a lot of people who are trying to see Dubai as a long-term place to be find dating quite hard.
Okay.
Yeah, because one, it's a very transient place. So you do see a lot of people who maybe they're coming on a work contract, they're there for 1 or 2 years, they go back home, or people who move to kind of test out life abroad for a couple of years, they move back home. So a lot of people come in and out. A lot of people also come as a place of I'm just here to have fun. So you find a lot of unserious people. There are so many dating dynamics that go on in Dubai, or some guys even say that there's just so many options of women that like, why should I settle down kind of thing. So people who especially a lot of black women that I know, when it comes to like finding a serious partner in Dubai to actually settle down, some of them can find it quite difficult. I do know people, black couples as well, who have met in Dubai and like have started a family and everything, but that's one struggle that I don't think a lot of people talk about. Obviously it's not as expensive as London, but it can be quite expensive. Another one of the cons is obviously you don't have permanent residency, and you can probably never get permanent residency. That is something to consider, especially if, I don't know what proportion of your audience are watching this from abroad, but let's say you have people coming from second world countries, third world countries. I don't necessarily like to use those labels, but you guys know what I mean. When they settle in places like Canada, the UK, they are usually working towards getting citizenship, right? Canada's probably one of the easiest places to get citizenship. I think after 5 years, you can apply for citizenship. And now they have secured a passport that is going to make life so much more easier for them. They can have kids. The kids will take that passport, etc. Whereas if you go to Dubai, you could have lived there for 100 years. You are never getting an Emirati passport. Never.
True.
Like the only people that get it is like maybe 1 or 2 people who are like billionaires who started a company. Majority of people, 99.9999%, you will never get permanent citizenship. Yeah. So also you have to think about, there's a risk technically that if they did say, which is highly unlikely, but if they did say tomorrow that actually everybody get out the country, you have to pack your bags and go. Yeah. Right? In the UK, people say that, like, they're going to tell us to go back home. No, you can't. I got my British passport. I'm British. So, like, where are you kicking me to where? Where am I going? Where am I going? I'm staying here. I'm British. Right? So you don't have that security. That's another risk as well.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing, right? It's like, I think it's always good for people to, like, balance both sides, right? Like, I never thought about the dating aspect for people who are obviously single and trying to like find love there. That's a very interesting thing. And you're absolutely right about the citizenship. At the end of the day, right? Like, you're not going to be a citizen there, right? And as well, if you have children, they've got to be a citizen somewhere. So you also got to figure that out as well. Right. I think it's very important.
Because people even travel out to have their kids so that they can have a passport from somewhere else. So that's something to think about.
Yeah. It's crazy. So you mentioned something before, right? Jobs in Dubai is tough. It is. I hear it's so tough. You managed to do that successfully, right? Do you have any tips for people if they are thinking to move to Dubai and they're trying to get a job? Do you have any tips for them to help them maybe get over that hump?
Yeah, so we've done a series on the professionElle.com. So professionElle network.com. And we've done like these webinar series with people from different industries, because it's very, per each industry is different in the way that you might want to enter and the things that you need to know. So for like law, for example, you know, they have to be qualified in this. There's different things that you need to know for different industries. So definitely go and check that out. In general, what I would say is, one, if you want to move to Dubai, you probably don't want to do it at the graduate level. You probably want to have some experience in your country first, because there are more positions for senior, more experienced people than there are for graduates. And the graduate schemes that they do have, a lot of the times, they are Emirati focused. So they will say graduate scheme, but Emirati preferred, and an Emirati will get that job. So the more experienced you are and the more senior you are, the higher the chances that you will be looked at for a particular role. So that's one thing that I would say. Second thing is, and this is what we have seen across this webinar series that we do, is you're actually more likely to get a job if you're in the region. So one thing a lot of people do is they already relocate to Dubai, then they start looking for a job. So then they will start meeting people in person. I think the stat is maybe like 80% of the jobs don't reach job boards. They're just done through referral. Who do you know? Who do you know? Who do you know?
Wow.
So they didn't even reach the job boards. So making a network is key. And then the easiest way to do that is when you're on the ground going out to meet people. But I think another easy hack to do is try to move, if your company has a Dubai office, try to move that way first, because like I'm saying again, if you're already based in Dubai, or even if you already have Dubai experience, it's a lot easier for you to get a job in Dubai, because even on your CV, they will look for like, do you have a +971 number, or is your number still +44? Those are the things that they actually look at. They want to know people who are, one, committed to the region, have some experience in the region. So that makes it a lot easier as well. And then also different industries have different standards. So like pictures are not a thing on the CV in the UK, or at least for banking. Like why would you even do that to yourself?
Yeah.
Now people are going to discriminate based on your hair. But like in Dubai, putting a picture on a CV apparently is a thing for some industries. I never did that, but apparently for some industries it is. So then you have to learn what the nuances are of that industry. Yeah, man, there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot that goes into it.
This is why it's so tough.
It's very, very, very tough.
You have to be sure that you want to be able to do this. But then I think this comes back to your what you were saying. It's not just about everybody relocate to Dubai. It's about traveling to several places and figuring out where can you kind of add value, right? Because like I think a lot of people are listening to this, bro. Okay, Dubai is not the only option.
Maybe it's Abu Dhabi that you need to go, or Ras Al Khaimah, or Oman, or Doha, or I don't know, America. Like it's not just about everybody moves to Dubai, because Dubai might not be for you. Your industry might not be there.
Do you? Is there any other places aside from Dubai that you've heard people going to and they've had success? Obviously, you talked about your friend in Bali. Is there any like other in Kenya? You mentioned. Is there any other places that you've heard that are great for thinking about building wealth?
Ooh, it really depends. So Cape Town is really popular. South Africa is quite popular, Cape Town in particular, but that's not, people aren't going there trying to look for jobs. People are usually going there who they have a business, an online business, and they want somewhere to work from where the cost of living is cheap. So then they're building wealth by being able to save more and still earn in the same currency. So that's one. Kenya's on the rise. A lot more people.
I'm surprised when you mentioned it, I was like, oh, okay.
Came out of nowhere, but a lot of people are moving to Kenya. So I'm hearing a lot of that. America's I mean, like, for me, you know, I don't know if I could see myself there, but America is, and also it depends on your industry, right? So like I'm saying, like people in tech, people who want to do certain businesses, like America is, you know, one of the world's leading business hubs. Where else are people moving to? Obviously Asia as well. Similar to Cape Town, people who have their income streams, you know, already, and then online, and then want cheaper cost of living. That's all I really know, to be fair.
Okay. There's a lot of options for people. Yeah. So I want to talk a bit about your podcast, Building Wealth with No Borders, right? So in your podcast, you've spoken with personal finance experts, wealth managers, millionaires, and more. What are some of the major insights you've gained from these conversations?
Oof, good question. Good question. And it's so funny because I recently released a video that was like, it was like the highlights of each of the episodes. So I should know this in my head. But what's the question? What are the
major insights you've gained from these conversations?
Major insights. One, the most successful people on there always took risks. Always took risks. And I guess it's like no risk, no reward, right? So risk is definitely a thing, and just choosing to go down unconventional paths. And a lot of them at some point were, when the crowd was going this way, they were going that way, and they just stuck to their guns. So you see that repeatedly, through my guests, repeatedly, that like they just didn't follow the conventional path. What other key things on wealth building? Quite popularly, a lot of people, and maybe this is just the people that I'm selecting though, so there could be a bias there, but a lot of people's best investments have been property.
Okay.
So you'll see that a lot, like with the guests. So at the end, I always ask them, what's the best investment you've ever made? A lot of them, the majority will say property, and then the next popular response is myself. So a lot of them invest a lot into themselves, and when it comes to an actual asset class, property is quite popular. What else have I learned from them? You also learn that these are just regular people, man. These are just regular people who took risks and kind of made sure that risk paid off. Because a lot of the time as well, like people ask me like, oh, you know, like, have you had a risk that it didn't go quite so well? And I'm like, if I'm going to take a risk, I'm going to make sure that it pays off. Like I will make sure that I get the return from this risk, even if it's not necessarily financially, but it's through what I've learned or it's through who I've met. Like, because a lot of this stuff is mindset. It's the way you think about things, right? Even if, let's say, someone quits their job and they go back to it in a year, they go back, you can think about it as, oh man, like I failed and this and that. Or you can think about it that like I took a risk that most people aren't willing to do. For a year, I tried out something that I really loved, and I'm going to now go back to work, and there are going to be so many other people around me who have the itch to quit their job, and they'll be miserable because they're always thinking like, what if? But I've scratched my what if itch, and I've done that. So now I can go back to my job and be fully focused, or I can then start again, or, you know, I'm going in as a different person. So they take risks and they make sure that the risks pay off. What else have I learned?
These are some good lessons.
Yeah, I think let's go with those.
Those are very great lessons. And I want to my final question to you, right, is discipline, right? I think we have to definitely talk about discipline, because discipline is so important in this, right? In terms of discipline, why is that important for people? Not just financial discipline, just even just general discipline, saying that you're going to do what you set out to do. Why is it important, and how can people be more disciplined?
Oh, why is it important? Because I think a lot of what success is when you push through when everyone else naturally will fall off, when everyone else naturally will give up. So let's say, for example, recently I hit 100k subscribers on my YouTube channel, right? After 5 long years. And there were so many people who started the journey with me. There were so many people who maybe even started the journey before I did, right? But the reason why I was able to make it to 100k was because I kept going, right? There were a lot of people I know people who were literally at like 94k, and then it was just like, nah, this is too much, and then they give up, right? But a lot of what success is at that moment, because there's always this, like, I was literally talking with my therapist, ChatGPT, about like the messy middle, right? There's always a point you start something and then like you have so many ideas and you feel all the energy for it, all the dopamine is going, and then you get to a point where you're actually like, this is actually hard. Like the reality of what it is that you're going after, the success that you're looking for, you start to realize that this is not as easy as like I thought it was going to be, or like I'm not really feeling it today. And during that part, most people would just dip off and they'll quit. They will decide that it's not for them. They will feed themselves stories of like, I don't want to give into hustle culture or whatever. They tell themselves these stories, whatever. The people who make it out to the other end of what we know is success are the people who, even through those down parts, they keep going. And what keeps them going is the discipline. It's like, I think Layla Hormozi has this quote. I don't know if she came up with it, but I saw it on her YouTube today, where it was like, fuck your mood, follow the plan. That is the people who are disciplined. That's what they do. Regardless of however they are feeling in the moment, it's just like, this is how I feel, but this is the discipline that I know that I need to have to get to the success that I want. And it's only discipline that will get you through that messy middle. Like, because the dopamine is gone. All the excitement about starting this new brand, this new podcast, starting your property journey, going into that career, all the excitement that you initially had is gone. The reality has set in. It's hard now. The butterflies aren't there anymore. And it's only discipline that will get you through. And that's why discipline is so important. Like, you have to have it. You have to have it. You cannot be led by your emotions, because if you're led by your emotions, you will start finish, start again, finish. You'll never get there because our emotions are always up and down.
Yeah. And how can people be more disciplined? Or how are you more disciplined?
God. How do people be? Let me ask you. I was talking to you because I was saying that I was looking into your channel today just before I came, and I was like, you have been so consistent with this channel, and if you go back through your channel, some of your videos still have 58 views, and then some of your videos have hundreds of thousands, and even when you were getting those 58 views, you still kept going. So what was it for you?
I'm getting Uno reverse. I don't think I've had that happen to me. How did I stay consistent? I think like Leila Hormozi. So I think I told you offline, right? And people, this might be news to you. So when I set out to do the podcast, I said, no matter the results, the minimum I would give myself is 5 years. There were definitely some weeks that it was hard, where it was like, oh, why am I doing this? Can I do this? There was late nights. There was loads of late nights. There was some late nights to the point where I'm talking about 3 a.m. before. And I usually release at 8 a.m. There were some late nights. There's actually been one recently where it was 5 a.m. I've had that before.
Just so you hit that 8 a.m.
Yeah. Because to me, I think it was quite important. And do you know what? I had a moment actually where I felt like, I was like, this is I need to make sure that I need to decide if I'm going to do it or not. If I'm going to do it properly. I'm not saying you can't complain, you can, but you just either do it or you don't. Like, you have to just be that binary. There was a point where like, very early on, I wasn't getting like a lot of downloads. I'm like, sometimes you can get a bit lax and be like, no, but I'm just getting 5. And then I switched my mindset and said, actually, that's 5 people listen to me. That's amazing. Like, this is 5 people that I started from 0 to 5. Amazing. And then I think being a bit more appreciative, just switching it from, every listen is somebody that is, that you are providing value. That gave me the energy to just continue, right? So that was it for me, really.
I think that's a good one. And I think that's something that I can echo is like, sometimes you have to, one is perspective, but then sometimes you also have to find a way to love the process, like find a way to make things more exciting. Because I remember 6 months ago, before I started my podcast, I was definitely thinking, I think I'm going to quit YouTube. I was just like, at some point during 2023, when I moved to Dubai, I was like, this is just too much effort. Like, YouTube is just too much effort. But then I had to find a way again. Like, I switched. I literally changed it up. Then I started doing more like traveling content, around, like, I remember the one that I did one of them was I just traveled to a different place in Dubai, and I completely different style of the way that I was doing content. But like, consistency doesn't necessarily, and discipline doesn't necessarily look like doing the exact same thing all the time. Like, even now, one of the things that I want to be consistent with and be disciplined about is working out. But I'm like, I'm not going to go to the gym and do 5 days of weight training. It's too much. So some of my days, what my workout looks like, what my discipline of working out looks like, is going outside. I have this skipping rope that like that has a timer, and it has like your number of skips. I just skip for 5 minutes. And that's my level of discipline. So there are different ways that you can also tweak the process to make it more enjoyable for yourself. I think another way to be more disciplined as well is to, sometimes you have to constantly remind yourself of what the goal is. And it goes 2 ways. Sometimes I have to remind myself of what the bigger goal is, and I'm like, okay, cool, this makes me feel better. And other times I have to, like, that goal is even too big. Let me just think about just getting through the next day. Because if I can just get through the next day, get through the next week, then that's okay for me. But I think ultimately also comes down to respecting yourself. Because if you constantly make promises to yourself about how disciplined you're going to be, and you constantly break them, how much do you respect yourself? Because why is it that whatever comes out of your mouth, you can never stick to it? Like, how much do you respect yourself? Or are you just someone who you just say things that you don't stick to the person that you said you're going to be? So yeah, it's a part of your character. Like, being undisciplined is also a characteristic as well. And that is something that, for me, my character is important to me. So there are certain things that I'm like, I don't want to be a person where I look back on myself in however, like in when I do my quarterly review or my yearly review, and I'm like, ew, like, why why were you someone who said you were going to do this and like you just didn't do it? Like, come on.
Exactly. And it's important. You actually remind me of something. Sometimes I do say to myself, I'm doing this more. Are you the person that would do this? Is this the person that would right? You want this podcast to grow to this. So who is that person that grows it to that? And I start telling, okay, so that's the person I've got to be. And then and then I think now for me, I say consistency. Now I think I'm so consistent that it's just normal.
Yes.
It's become habit. It's just like, okay.
Facts.
It's just autopilot now.
Yeah.
It's no longer, oh my God, this, even if it's a hard week, I'm like, yeah, okay, it's coming. I'm like, is that going to work? Like you're going to work. You're not, struggling with it. So yeah, that's
so
how it
true.
feels like.
That's so true, because that's something on, like, if you read, is it Atomic Habits? Like, I think they say it takes like, I don't know, maybe 30 days. Some studies say 60 days for a habit to become like instinctive to you. Because I remember when I first started working out, like, oh my God, it'd be such a struggle sometimes to get myself to the gym. Whereas now, even on the days where I'm not feeling it, my body's just like, just get up and go, because I'm just so used to, that's just what I do. Yeah. That's me now. I like, you assume the identity. I'm someone who goes to the gym. So regardless of how I'm feeling, I'm a gym goer. I'm a gym babe. So I go. Exactly.
And that's it. It's important. Thank you so much, Lámidé. It's been great having this conversation with you. Where can people find you, obviously, if they want to reach out, connect with you and stuff like that?
Yes, so Lámidé Elizabeth on YouTube, also on Instagram, on LinkedIn, TikTok, and that's it. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, you're on all the social media channels. Please go and follow Lámidé. It's been such a great conversation, and it's like why I love conversations like this, because it really broadens your mind. I'm even thinking more about, okay, what can I kind of do? Even though I take risks, I would love to take more risks. I think sometimes you can be like, oh no, but what about my job, or what about my mortgage, and these kind of things can kind of stomp you. So thanks so much for sharing your journey and just sharing like the kind of experiences that you're kind of seeing out of the world to really help people. Really, really appreciate it. Do you have any final words for watchers and listeners?
F your mood, follow the plan. That's what she said.
Hey, legendary. Love that. Thanks so much, Lámidé. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the podcast, and see you next week's episode. If you like this episode, leave a review, tap, like, or subscribe to the channel. Your support is appreciated. We'll keep working hard to bring you more valuable episodes.